and so the research that you're talking about, which folks can see at everydeveloper.com/companies, and it's that URL because we chose 30 that we had seen mentions as having great DX kind of in Twitter threads and various places where people had mentioned it. And so multiple mentions got them into that list of that 30. And so that was so that we could kind of focus in on ones that are doing things well and also be able to not try to bite off too much. So those were the ones that we looked at. And so because of that, I think we can say, some of these things that we're seeing across a lot of these are certainly worthy of consideration as a best practice, right? We don't have to plant a stake and say it absolutely is, but one of the ones, I mean, this is very much in API-Matic's court, and I should say that I'm a longtime advisor of API-Matic and fan, but found this regardless of that, which is that they have a lot of language support. So 73% of those 30 had 4+ languages. So these are companies that are investing in some way to make sure that languages are supported directly, so that a dev can come and say, I'm a Python dev. Good. You have an SDK, you have some tutorials that are specific to me. So we saw a lot of that throughout those 30. And then I think another one, I'll pick one that I don't see a lot looking at most dev portals. And that is use cases specifically called out in the documentation. So how would I actually take this and use it beyond hello world, right? Beyond making that first call, what is an actual app I might build? And and what business problem does this solve? Which is, like, maybe some developers listening might think that doesn't sound important. That sounds like businessy, but to be able to have that in a way that talks about how the API, how the actual tech solves that problem, is why it belongs in docs, right? Is saying, here's this frame of reference. And that actually goes back to Programmable Web time, where I would talk to lots of new API providers who kind of had this build it and see what they make, and we can't wait to see what just miraculously sprouts up here. And it often leads to not a lot, because there's not that kind of initial spark that gives a dev some ideas, right? The only way to figure it out is to look through endpoints and try to figure out what it does.